everyone, and welcome to another episode of Little Give. I'm so excited for you to meet our guest and hear all the things she's working on. Go ahead, introduce yourself. Tell us where you're from. Tell us what you're all about.
Hi, everybody. I am Dr. Alexis Sams. You might know me as the Food Allergy Doc. I'm based out of Phoenix, Arizona, and I help people conquer their food allergies naturally so that they can live their lives more freely and fearlessly and do the things that they've always wanted to do.
Okay, so tell us, how'd you get into this?
It kind of happened to me. It kind of starts with my pandemic story. I originally was working in more of an orthopedic setting and running my physical therapy clinic. And when the pandemic started, my focus shifted to functional medicine, which I've always had a background in, but people were increasingly more interested in preventing themselves from getting ill. And from there, things just kind of materialized from there. People asked more questions about lowering medications, just generally being more healthy, reducing chronic illness symptoms. And then from there, some of my current clients started to tell me that, by the way, even though we were working on, thing A and that was getting better, they were letting me know that their food allergies and intolerances were getting better and they were able to eat things that they weren't able to eat before, or a little piece of, an old food trigger from, back in the past got on a plate and they ate it and they were fine. And they were really surprised. More and more people started to tell me that. And then when I realized that my same framework for chronic illness management also helped food allergies and intolerances, I just did a little digging and just realized, especially in the United States, so many people are limited in their food routines and limited in what they can do in their lives by their food allergies and other types of food reactions. So I just kind of reworked my treatment framework, and now I offer my services to that community that I feel more and more needs so much more support and advocacy, because solutions that can give them lasting relief are actually out there.
Well, that's neat. That's so neat how you have kind of grown into the role you're in now. Tell us a bit about your program and how it works and how it ended up helping with food allergies as well.
Sure. It's a more naturally based treatment framework where people go through daily regimens of various vitamins, minerals, and supplements. And it really just guides the body through preparing for the healing process itself, and then restoring and optimizing function. And going in those orders really helps to bring around the relief that people are looking for. And like I said, it originally was created for managing more chronic illness symptoms, and making a couple of tweaks of certain types of vitamins and minerals at the certain time is really what turned the corner to help with food allergies and intolerances. So I just guide my clients through their daily regimens of those supplements. They message me and communicate with me if they're having any kickback symptoms, but most of the time it's a pretty good experience, very seamless. I love my clients. We grow very close in the process, and it's rewarding on both sides, just being able to allow and give people the opportunity to unlock more opportunities for them to travel, be more around more people, take advantage of more opportunities, because they're not so limited by, what if I get accidentally exposed to a food trigger, or what if there's something like floating around the air that can make me sick. Those being able to change those opportunities with just a systemized framework of my regimens, and working with people closely. It's super rewarding, and I'm just excited to talk about it more and share it with more people.
Yeah, it sounds very interesting. And it seems like something that's really helping people. Is it like you change your diet, or is it supplements, or is it diet and supplements, or is it an exercise regimen? Give us a little bit more details of specifically what it is that you do to help make these changes for people.
It focuses more on the supplements. It focuses more on vitamins, minerals, a few essential oils, and the key is giving them at the right time in the right order. And to piggyback on what you were asking, a lot of people do ask if there's a special diet required, or do they have to eat certain things or not eat certain things. And I actually leave that more up to the client. There are some people who want to incorporate certain types of food routines as they go through the process. However, it's not actually required for the framework and for the whole program to work for you. So for those who have on the flip side of that, tried lots of elimination diets or other types of food routines, or they've been told just to avoid their food triggers, and they've avoided so much that it starts to make their head spin, or bring a lot of confusion and a lot of effort into meal planning and things like that. That's not necessarily required for success in the framework. I listen to what the client wants in terms of those dietary concerns, and I address them in tandem with what their wishes are in order to help them achieve the goals that they want. But it's not required.
Yeah. So can you give us an example of like the type of client that would come with what kind of complaints? Like, would it be they come to you because they're experiencing weight gain, or like what kind of issues are clients experiencing that seek out your services?
Sure. The top client that I usually end up working with has been to lots of different practitioners, medical doctors, allergists, naturopaths, chiropractic doctors, other health coaches or natural practitioners, and they're not getting any relief for their food reactions. They're still having to or being told to just avoid the same triggers that cause their food reactions. Or some have actually been told that their food reactions kind of don't exist, or that their symptoms aren't super prevalent or important. And essentially, they're just feeling very frustrated and very lost because they know on the inside something isn't right. A good number of my clients are also increasing or experiencing increased food triggers, increased food reactions over time. And again, they're just not getting the support or the answers that they're looking for. So when they come to me, one of the very first things that we do is take a complete profile and bring all those answers to the table so that they feel empowered knowing that their symptoms are real, they do have causes, they can be treated, and guiding them through the program can be their solution for that lasting relief that they're looking for.
Hi, my name is Justin Clark, and I'm the president of the board of directors for Driving Single Parents, a 501c3 nonprofit serving the citizens of San Antonio and Bexar County, Texas. I'm here today to tell you a little bit about the great work that our organization is doing for the citizens of San Antonio. What you're about to see is just a few photos and videos of the way that we're changing lives for single parents in and around San Antonio, Texas. Our first giveaway took place in April of 2017, just one short month after the formation of our organization. John, a Bexar County resident, was the victim of a horrible drunk driver incident. He and his daughter survived the crash, and we were so proud to give our first car to this deserving family. Fast forward to 2020, a very difficult year for nonprofits. We were able to secure 4 vehicles for single parents in need. Our organization, including our board of directors, list of partners, and portfolio of people we've been able to help in San Antonio, continues to grow, and it's all thanks to donors and local community organizations that have helped us along the way. This giveaway took place in 2021 and shows that we continue to help single parents even after the struggles brought about by COVID-19. Because of limited funds and the overwhelming need, we at Driving Single Parents are incredibly selective with the people we help. Some are victims of domestic violence. Others had a spouse pass away tragically, or otherwise fell on hard times. These single parents show adversity in the face of challenge and aren't looking for a handout. We offer a hand up and help get them back in the driver's seat. Many of the single parents we help go on to graduate college, get promotions, get married, mentor others, and some have even been so touched by the gift we gave them that they have decided to join our board of directors to pay it forward and ensure the continued growth of our organization. If you would like to help our organization continue to grow and continue to help single parents in need in San Antonio, Texas, and Bexar County, Texas, we would really appreciate your support. Please visit us online at www.drivingsingleparents.org. Thank you.
I got it. Okay. So I also know you wrote a book about this subject. Why don't you tell us a bit about that and what got you the inspiration to start that?
Oh, that is a fun story. It's a wonderful story. So I was at a business retreat with a girlfriend of mine, and we were on a resort. And it was actually one of the first times. I know that food allergies are addressed to certain extents in general restaurants, but on the resort, it was specifically like the first thing that the waiter asked us when I want to say before we even sat down. The first thing that he asked was, does anybody have any food allergies? And she proceeded to tell the waiter what her allergies were. And then we kind of sat down, we got our water and everything. And she kind of looked at me and she gave me that look and was like, I can see the gears turning in your head. What are you thinking about my allergies? And so I kind of just briefly broken down what just initially my first thoughts are, or what my first thoughts were in terms of what could be driving those allergies based on what she said she was allergic to, based on what the foods were. And she was like, that's crazy. Like, that's like fabulous. And she asked if I knew, like, are there any other foods that you know, like if somebody avoids them, what it means. And so I gave her a couple other examples. If I stick a pin in that, people have always told me that I should write a book about something in terms of like the work that I'm doing. And it never really materialized and ideas never really came to me until that weekend. We went through the rest of the business retreat, and on the plane ride home, I thought to myself, how many foods do I actually know, the details behind in terms of why people might react to them or why they may be triggers? And by the time the plane landed, I had 35 foods profiled out in terms of why people avoid them. And then I had 15 foods profiled out in terms of why people crave them and what they can indicate in terms of how the body is functioning at that current time. And that's essentially what the book Food Clues is about. It's how I use food as clues to break down what's going on in the body and holding it back from performing its best. And so the book, essentially, it's more like kind of like a catalog meets a choose your own adventure type book. You don't have to read it cover to cover, but it does profile 35 foods that are commonly avoided and 15 foods that are commonly craved. And I break down the details for why all of that happens. I connect them to other types of conditions that could be associated with avoiding or craving those foods. And then I kind of pull it all together in terms of how that can hold your body back from feeling and performing its best. And I talk a little bit about my framework and how I help people find the relief that they've been seeking, but have been able to or unable to achieve because they haven't been able to get all the puzzle pieces of their food clues together.
Wow, it's so fascinating. So if somebody were to say, I'm allergic to milk, or my allergy test says that I have a sensitivity to dairy, what would be a little information on that?
Using milk as an example, there are different types of or different qualities of milk that I would want to consider to see if those are the triggers that are driving reactions. And the reason that I do that is because usually, like, the food in its entirety is not necessarily the cause for the food reaction. Somebody could have a problem with dairy or milk, like you were saying, and I don't personally have one. And we could both drink a glass of milk. It will react to that person, but not necessarily react to me. But it's the same milk. So that said, it's not always the food in its entirety. It's not milk in its entirety. It's usually a quality of the milk that doesn't necessarily agree with said person. So some examples in milk that might throw things off. One, it can be the whey protein that's in milk. It can be other types of proteins that are in milk. It can be the lactic acid that is in certain types of milks and involved in like the processings of milk. Those are three basic examples of three types of things that the body could have a problem breaking down, absorbing, eliminating effectively. And when the body struggles to be able to handle certain things, it'll often send some type of rejection. So you don't introduce it into your body. Essentially, your body's saying, don't give me this, I can't handle it. The reactions can give clues as to what part of the body is struggling with the reaction or what the reaction issue or what the dysfunction issue actually is. So, for example, if it's consuming milk gives like a belly type of pain, there could be more of an absorption issue within the digestive tract versus if it gives more of like a skin breakout, a hive, a rash, lip swelling or tongue swelling, things like that. That can give a little bit more of an indication of difficulty managing like the acidic components by certain cells and things. So again, it's not the food or the milk in this example in its entirety. It's breaking down and looking at the different components of the food and matching them to other symptoms that your body is showing or other conditions within your history to help pinpoint what those specific problems are in the milk. And then I just make sure that those dysfunctions, those issues that we kind of pick up on are properly addressed in the framework as you work through it in the program.
Hi, my name is Andrew Fraley, and I believe that sometimes we all need a little bit of help. If you're in the San Antonio community and you need some legal help, call me at 210-725-4658.
Ah, wow. That makes so much sense. It's not necessarily like the entirety, but the different components. And it's neat that you can figure out exactly which component it is based on the reaction the person's having. So I think it's so interesting. I haven't heard that before. So I appreciate you sharing that with us. I know that that's something that a lot of people struggle with these days is various allergies. And then, of course, like you said, it's difficult to be avoiding it because especially like with milk, you got cheese, everything dairy, everything seems to have dairy in it. So I know that can be a big struggle for somebody who has that type of allergy to completely avoid all of it. So I'm so grateful that you're out there, busting all these, myths and also showing people how they can manage it in a better way. So thank you for that. So tell us more about your book journey. Obviously, you come up with the idea, you're going to do it. You start writing, you're getting it done. What was your favorite part of your author journey?
I think the favorite part was that first part. It was the sitting on the plane and just going through the number of foods that I could come up with that I was able to understand the certain, like I was talking about, the certain food components that people can react to that can drive their food reactions. I think that was the most insightful part because I'm really grateful for the situation as it occurred. It was fate almost as you'd have it, because if we hadn't had that situation, I probably wouldn't have written the book. So I was very fortunate for that situation to occur. And then, the process of just really digging and seeing how many foods that I could come up with, matching with how many of those foods I generally had an understanding that people struggled with. I actually came up with a lot more foods, but I kind of narrowed it down to what are some of the heavy hitters that, I hear people talk about all the time when I'm sitting to eat dinner and I hear, the table next to me talking about something. So that's how gluten and dairy definitely made sure that those were in the book. That's how eggs definitely made it in the book. So I narrowed down what was more prevalent, that I believe to be more prevalent, at least in terms of food reactions. And then I think the second part that was the most exciting was working with the book designer and actually getting the layout of the book. Third time's a charm. So the first two designs looked kind of, I don't know, but kind of clinical, almost like a textbook per se. But the final version ended up looking more kind of like a magazine layout. So I just love how colorful it is. I love even like starting with the cover, like when she sent me the cover photo, I was like, oh my gosh, it's beautiful. So throughout the book, you'll see like the beautiful pictures and the word descriptions are just easy to read in like bulleted form. So again, you don't necessarily have to read it like a book. If you know that you have an issue with eggs, it's in the food avoidance section. It's in alphabetical order. You can just quickly flip to eggs. So I think the second part was like the design process and having it eventually just become as visually appealing as it is. I think it looks beautiful. And I've gotten comments from people who've ordered the book saying like, oh my gosh, like I love the pictures. It's so great. So those have been my faves.
It certainly is beautiful. I love the design as well. It's beautiful. So I know that, you've done all of this and you're really helping people, and you've probably surprised yourself as to how much you were able to get into this book and how many components of foods and all that you've realized that you knew. That's impressive. So I know that kind of puts you in a whole nother direction and you end up starting a podcast. You want to talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, sure. So the Food Clues podcast is just my opportunity to elaborate more on the treatment journey, I always say that I learn from my clients each and every day. So I talk about different findings that I discover as I'm working with clients. I introduce people, new listeners, to the food clues concept. I try to present the concept in different ways to help people understand what the process is, because I do believe that it's a little bit more unique, especially compared to more traditional approaches of diagnosing, getting details, and actually treating food allergies and intolerances. So you'll hear me talk about things like knowing all the components of your food allergy equation, or you'll hear me talk about comparing your food allergies to like a pesky weed in the garden of your life. So I'll break things down to help people understand how their food triggers and how their food reactions relate to their body performance. And then I just also summarize research that supports the framework, because uh, even though I think there's been innovation on my part in terms of how I communicate and deliver the solutions and the transformation that the clients are seeking, you know, I didn't invent biology. I didn't invent anatomy or physiology. So there's definitely a good amount of research that goes into or that supports why I do what I do. So sometimes I talk about some of the research. Sometimes I break down certain articles, again, to help potential clients or just anybody who's listening and interested know more about the basics, but also the background behind their food reactions and food triggers. And it's all to just let people know that there are solutions out there that are working, that don't involve prescriptions or shots, and they work.
That's fantastic. And I know feeling good in your body is like top of mind, primary concern. So it's good that you are sharing all this, because to give somebody the gift of being able to eat and feel good in their body is just amazing. So it's great that you have not just what you work on, but also the book to support people in that way. And then the podcast to also introduce new ideas. So I love that. Thank you so much for sharing everything. So I'm going to switch off now to the two questions I ask all of my guests. One is, can you give the audience an example of a little thing that they can do in their community that might just be, a little give on their end, but might make a big impact on the other side?
I think the biggest little give that can make the biggest impact is compassion. Compassion doesn't require full understanding, and it doesn't also require full experience. So compassion on the end of the person experiencing the food reactions, having a little bit of compassion for yourself to know that your symptoms are valid, they are real, they're not in your head. They may take a little bit of time and opportunity to align yourself with the right practitioner so that you can get the relief that you're looking for, but it is possible. So having a little bit of compassion for yourself as you're going through that healing journey, I think, can be key. On the other end, those who don't necessarily have those symptoms or have that experience, having compassion for those who do, especially in public settings. We all have things going on. I'm not necessarily here to make one situation or one problem bigger than the other. But since we're talking about food allergies, the next time that maybe you're out in a public place, at a restaurant, at a festival, and you might come across somebody who's asking a couple of extra questions because they have an allergy, or asking for some type of accommodation for something to be packaged a little bit differently, so it takes a little bit more time, just to reduce the fat or reduce the odds of them having a reaction because of like a cross contamination or an accidental exposure. Just having a little bit of compassion for that. They're just looking out for their safety. Moms are just looking out for the safety of their children with allergic reactions and food triggers. So I think, again, compassion can go a long way.
I love that. I love it whenever somebody comes on and features something that has never been featured on the show before. So I love that. Just having compassion for the person in front of you who maybe is taking a little longer because they need to make sure that themselves or their loved ones are safe with the eating of whatever food they're ordering. So that's great. I love that one. Can you give the audience an example of a time in your life where somebody did something little for you that might have just been, a little give on their end, but really made an impact on you and in your life?
I think the single most little give that is given to me is anytime a client messages me or just says a little something that lets me know that the program and the experience that they are receiving through the program is really helping them. It's one thing to say that, yes, the program works. It's worked for me personally. It's worked for tons of other clients, and I go to work every day and I always try to do my best. But when I get a text, I just got a text like 2 weeks ago from a client she's not even really halfway through the program yet. And she just messaged and said, I can eat dairy now. Ironically enough, she was like, I can eat dairy now and I don't have any problems. A month in, when she started, she said that, I'm up to eating 3 meals a day. And she couldn't remember the last time that she could do that. Those little things just really encourage me and let me know that things really are working, to keep going, that they are making an impact. I had a client message me one day and say that she was just super grateful having the insight of connecting her food allergy and reactions to the other conditions and symptoms in her body. And she basically texted me and she said, I'm pretty sure you probably kept me from getting something like cancer, just because we're able to identify and tackle these things. And on top of that, my food reactions are getting better too. So yeah, those little messages from time to time, they really keep me going, and they help to keep me focused on my mission to really bring that relief to more people and empower them with the confidence and the knowledge of knowing that those solutions are out there for them.
That's a great example. And I think that's a great thing for the audience to know and understand is like, hey, if you have somebody in your life that's doing something that's helping you, whether it be a medical professional, a doctor, a friend, a cousin, a nephew, a sister, a mom, a dad, send them a message. Let them know that you appreciate them, because those messages on the worst of days can really bring light. So I think that's a great example. Thank you for sharing that. What about a nonprofit? Do you have any nonprofits that you're excited about?
Yes, I actually recently got to meet with the founder and chief organizer of Hearts for Moms, and it's based out of Florida. But I'm actually in Phoenix, Arizona, and we are looking at getting more efforts started up in the Phoenix, Scottsdale area. And Hearts for Moms, they have created and they, execute, or they provide one of the most comprehensive programs that I have ever seen to help single moms just transform their lives for themselves and for their children. So not only do they provide resources, but they also provide a wealth of education, training. They also offer resources and support for the children as well, because being a single parent, it also affects the children. They're single kids almost, conceptually. So all the different programs and the different resources that they have available to these moms, it's not just food support, and it's not just a transportation support, and it's not just a daycare support, and it's not just one training program. It is completely a fully robust program that helps the entire family unit. I was recently at a fundraiser, and we were able to raise over $10,000 for the within our local area to help move the organization forward. And I'm really excited just to keep supporting them.
Beautiful nonprofit. I have a huge heart for single parents. It's one of the hardest jobs in the world that nobody signs up for intentionally. So I love the nonprofit. Thank you for sharing that. Would you mind giving the audience all the information as to where they can find you? They can get to know more about you. They can get your book. They can hear your podcast. Give them all the details.
Sure. The top two ways that you can reach out or find out more about me is, one, through my website, which is www.myfoodclues.com. And in terms of social media, you can pretty much find me on any channel if you just look for the Food Allergy Doc. So I'm the Food Allergy Doc on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, and on YouTube. That's where you'll find me mostly.
Love it. All right, everybody. She gave you all the details as to where you can find her. You can reach out. You can seek out her services. Read that book. Listen to that podcast. Seems like she's doing amazing work that I'm sure can help lots of individuals watching this show right now. So make sure you do reach out. If you're passionate about that nonprofit that she featured today, please do go to their website. Find out more. If that's something that intrigues you, that you're interested in, go make a donation. $1 or $5 multiplied by the many, many people we have watching this show today can really make a huge impact to these nonprofits and to these single parents. Thank you so much for being on, Alexis. I've really enjoyed our conversation, and I look forward to following your story from here on out. And thank you, audience, for watching, and we'll see you all next week. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Little Give. If you would like to learn more about how I highlight ordinary people doing extraordinary things to help others, or maybe you'd like to be a guest, or maybe you know a nonprofit that you would like to see featured on a future episode of Little Give, you can find all the information on our website at littlegive.com. If you'd like to get involved with our kindness clip segment, please do send in those videos. Send them via email to cindy@littlegive.com. Or you can tag us on any social media under Cindy Whitteman or #LittleGive. If you'd like to know more about our podcast, you can also find us on all major streaming platforms under Little Give Podcast. Please do find our Facebook group under Little Give TV Show and join it. We'd love to keep you up to date with future episodes. Thank you all so much for watching, and I can't wait to highlight the next ordinary person doing extraordinary things to help others. See you next time.